Okay, so the day you have all been waiting for, the Rush Limbaugh Day. So we'll just take one of his comments where the law student from, was it Washington University or American University? Some university in Washington. Maybe it was George Washington University. Yeah, and so she wanted the school healthcare plan to provide contraceptives, and dear Rush called her a slut and a prostitute, and said that since the government was going to pay her to have sex, she should make a video and put it on the web so that everybody could see. And this is one of the most popular radio shows in the country. So in terms of the Dharma, you know, if we look at this, there's a few things to comment on. Yeah, one is, first of all, just objectifying women and making them into sex objects. And I think that any kind of objectification of any class of person or any type of person goes completely beyond what we're trying to cultivate in the Dharma when we meditate on the four immeasurables of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Okay? So reducing a sentient being to a category, or thinking that one attribute, whether it's true or untrue, in her case it was completely untrue, is the person, you know, is totally counter to the kind of attitude we're trying to develop in the Dharma, where we really see individual sentient beings as, you know, under the force of afflictions and karma, and wanting them to be free, and so wishing them to have temporal and ultimate happiness, be free from all three types of dukkha, you know, have joy, and then to also view all of them in an equanimous way, seeing that although their outward appearances may be different, inside everybody's the same in having the Buddha potential, in wanting to be happy and not suffer. Okay, so that kind of objectification of women, and in the same way how we objectify any kind of group or person, you know. And so we shouldn't stand back from dear Rush and say, well, he does it, but we don't. I remember there being one time in working together with a group of people that somebody did something that I didn't like. And for years, I realized for years, my only image of this person was the one action they did for 5 minutes in their life, you know? And because that was the only contact I had had. I mean, we worked briefly together and other things, but because he didn't want to do a certain activity that I thought would be beneficial for a group, you know, I had this image of him that I carried around for years and had reduced his whole 40-something year life to 5 minutes. And that was his whole value as a human being. So that was entirely wrong on my part. You know, you can't take some sentient being and based on how they treat us at one moment, or even 2 moments or 10 moments or whatever it is, and reduce the complexity of that person to that behavior, you know? And you can see that we so often do this. You know, when we've had a bad experience with somebody, sometimes it's even a parent. Somebody will take their parent and reduce their parent to, you know, one stereotypical image, and that's the only way they relate to them because of a few events that happened when they were kids. Whereas, you know, your parent is completely you know, so many different facets, just like us, you know, good qualities, good behaviors, bad behaviors, yeah. And so to watch in our lives how we think we know everything about somebody on the basis of one or two interactions or one or two types of interactions, instead of seeing the complete complexity of an individual. Yeah? So I think his statement is a very clear example of, you know, an extreme example, because it was clearly incorrect, but of how we too, correctly or incorrectly, very often incorrectly, make judgments about people and then think that that's all they are as a human being. You know? And we could do that in terms of, you know, Osama bin Laden, in terms of Rick Santorum, you know, in terms of whoever we want to, make them into something that's a concrete, stereotypical image that we've created that is not who they really are. And then, of course, that limits our ability to develop love, equanimity, compassion, and joy for them. And if we leave one sentient being out of the field of our love and compassion, that inhibits us from generating bodhicitta. And if we don't generate bodhicitta, there's no way for us to become a Buddha. So our enlightenment depends upon this person. And it depends on our having much broader and correct perception of who that sentient being is. Okay, we will continue with Rush tomorrow. There's many things he teaches us.